So the big rule of thumb when it comes to AI now and going forward is that we have to get super comfortable with being uncomfortable. Long gone are the days when there was a very clear path to implementation, to software, to technology. Now it's a bit of a Wild West again. And just remember all the time that the line between fear and fun and adrenaline is often very thin. So take this as a roller coaster ride, right? Yes, there will be moments where your stomach is like up in your throat and you're like, oh my gosh, how did I get here? But there will also be times when you will feel the wind in your hair and be so amazed by what is possible that you can't help but be excited by it. And embrace that in all of its glory. Because you will not lose your fill in the blank to AI, right? You won't lose your clients to AI. You won't lose your employees to AI. You won't lose your job to AI. But you absolutely could lose it to somebody who's better at AI. Somebody who has embraced this technology. So here's your chance and your opportunity to be in that position, because AI is the great equalizer. And that is one of the most amazing things about this technology, is that for the first time ever, we're going to be able to see small organizations and small companies and small teams and even new employees scale and build and develop faster than they've ever been able to do before. But we're also going to see large organizations be able to personalize, tailor content, deliver at the level of service that historically was the remit of small organizations only. There is no excuses going forward about how big our company is, how many resources our company has, what's available to us, what's not available to us. This technology is so inexpensive and so accessible that it's going to become an exercise in who can use it the best. And if we find out who can use it the best, that's who is going to be the most successful going forward. Agreed? Perfect. Now, before we dive into actually using AI, let's just get clear on a few pieces and parts and make sure everybody knows what it looks like. So first of all, when we look at the layers of artificial intelligence, and I put this up not because I expect you to memorize it or to even necessarily know it, but because I want you to not be afraid of these terms and to not feel overwhelmed by these terms. So when we talk at a big level, artificial intelligence is really just a general sweeping term that means, hey, this is all about programs that can learn and reason like a human. So when someone says, hey, my platform has AI in it, it's really, AI is not really a thing. It's actually not like I don't go to the box and go get me a box of AI and bring it out and drop it off somewhere. It's not that. It's a concept about a way technology functions. Yep. Then from there, we go into machine learning. And machine learning is just a way of embracing the idea that machines can teach themselves. So rather than me having to program a machine, right? If we go way back in the day, my very first program was written in BASIC. And I don't expect anybody to know this, but just know that I can tell you the entirety of the BASIC code program by saying 10, write, print, 20, go to 10. And that was the extent of my first program. Now, we don't have to do that anymore. We can let computers teach themselves by putting in an algorithm around it that says, here's how you learn. So now it's self-learning. Then down here, we get into deep learning. Now, deep learning is an extension of that machine learning, where deep learning is all about leveraging neural networks, which are very complex interconnections of data, so that it can build new things that never existed before based on very intense probabilities. Who has used a ChatGPT or some form of chat type thing? Most people in here, most people have dabbled with it at some level or another. It is not magic. It feels like magic when it does it. Feels like it. It's not even copying content and repeating that content to you. That's not actually how it functions. Using a neural network in the background, what it does is it comes up with what is the most likely next word. It is a probability engine like we've never seen before. And a neural network says that if I say Mary, it's going to guess, based on millions and billions of pieces of data, what's the next most likely word to come after Mary? And if I say Mary had, all of a sudden it's going to recalculate all those probabilities and come back with the next most likely word. And if I said Mary had a, it might come back with little lamb. But if I said Mary had some, instead of Mary had a, it's a whole new game. So the idea of these neural networks with deep learning, is that it is constantly creating new combinations based on all of these possible inputs that are going in all the time. And that's going to be really important later on in this conversation when we talk about how we really control those inputs and make those inputs better and smarter. And last but not least, my favorite thing in the whole wide world when it comes to AI is natural language processing. And natural language processing is the technology that allows us to talk to technology rather than code to technology. So it is what has enabled this technology to understand and respond using common communication, human-like communication. And it is the one thing, in my opinion, that will make this technology the most pervasive and most valuable to communities all over the world. Now, when we've got those 4 pieces in place, then we can start to look at what do we really need to get good results from AI? So if I'm using AI, what do I got to put in place to make this magic happen? Well, there's kind of 3 or 4 dimensions of it, right? First of all, you have to have data. At the end of the day, it's still a technology platform. It's based on data. You need good data in order to get good results. If you have bad data, you're going to get bad results. And I'll talk more about that in a second. So we need data. And that's a combination of both static data. Here, I've got some trained data that's static. It doesn't change, like an encyclopedia, for those of you who remember what that is. An encyclopedia. Or it could be current data or real-time data, things happening on the internet on a real-time basis. Then we need to have algorithms. Those are the rules about how it processes. When we think about ChatGPT is a great example. ChatGPT by OpenAI is one of the most popular, most well-known chat platforms for AI. When we think about that platform, it has an algorithm behind it that says how it functions. What does it do with all of this data that it has? How does it interact with the way that you prompt it? What does it focus on when it produces its results? And the same thing is true of every other type of platform that generates AI-driven information. Each of those has its own algorithm, its own set of rules. The best way to look at it is that it's all ice cream, but they come in different flavors. And so you have to know what flavor of ice cream you want to work with. And which flavor is your favorite flavor today might not be the same as tomorrow, might not be the same as the day after. Then we've got the prompts and the instructions. So this is the part where humans come into play. So with humans, we go in and go, great, well, knowing that you have this data and knowing that this is what flavor of ice cream you are and what your rules and algorithms are, here's what I want you to do, and that's our prompt that goes into play. If we have limited data, we are not going to get great results. If we have bad data, we're going to get very bad results. If we have biased data, we're going to get biased results, right? And if we think about all the training data, especially the static data that is based the foundation for all of our ChatGPTs and all those OpenAIs, we know that a majority of that has been trained on past text and internet, and it's fairly well established that the internet is biased. It's biased culturally, it's biased data-wise, it's biased stories, it's biased content. And while that doesn't mean that we should avoid it, it does mean that we have to challenge it and we have to work harder to make sure that we're constantly incorporating new data that is less biased. So being aware that biased data is probably one of the biggest challenges that we get. Same thing if we go into the instructions that we provide. If we provide unclear instructions, we will get unclear results. We will get messy things back. If we have bad algorithms, if we have different algorithms, or if the hardware underpinning it all is insufficient, we're not going to have the greatest response either. So these are all the ingredients that we have to put together in order to get a great result. The way that this pans out at organizations is that we see organizations building out what is essentially a scale of different types of AI applications inside. So at one end of the spectrum, there are what we call basic platforms. Now, these basic platforms are usually pre-existing, they are widely available, and they use standard available data. These are often available to our regular users. So this is where our ChatGPTs lies, our Geminis, our Copilots, Everybody has access to them. They're a very low barrier of entry. It's very fast to get into them, and it's very inexpensive. Now, I notice that you're taking pictures, and that's great. I will also tell you that there's plenty of bonus content at the end, and all that bonus content is actually going to be available to you for free. So at the end, you'll get a QR code, including a copy of all these slides, all for you. So here, we're going to get standard value at this level.